Ew!
He actually is peeing with the door open.
That's fucking disgusting.
Be it in the grim darkness of the far future, or on the blood-soaked battlefields of the old world, a secret cabal of casuals meets under the cover of night to argue about their plastic army men. No local meta is safe, for they are the Power Creeps.
Welcome to the Power Creeps. We're the Kings of Casual, the commanders of the kitchen table. I'm Erik.
You don't have to say it every time.
I'm Micah. No, you do have to say it every time.
Why every time?
Because it depends on when episodes
They
are
know
released.
who we are.
They fucking don't. We are no one.
The people that listen know who we are.
We are no one.
Mr. Eggsauce, if you know our names, please comment them in the comments.
You know what? I got one for Mr. Eggsauce because I haven't made a request yet, and I'm very curious. Mr. Eggsauce, put all three of our names, Erik, Ian, and Micah, and just a trait or describe us in some way just from listening to the last few episodes.
Oh, that's masturbatory.
No, because I'm very curious how we come off.
Could you please go into the comments and type in the number 8, 3 equal signs, and a capital D?
Can you go into the comment section and do an ASCII rendition of the sign of the Aquila being ripped in half?
Oh,
no.
Fuck. That's way too
Nobody
much work.
needs it. That's going to get us demonetized.
Why?
That's
Fuck the Inquisition.
That's heresy.
Fuck the Inquisition.
Can't have that. The Warhammer Fest just happened.
Yeah.
The date for today is May 15th. So that kind of helps date this depending on whenever I get it out. Hopefully by the end of the week. I'd really like to do that. But so Warhammer Fest just happened, and it was fucking awesome. I don't think there's going to be a weekend of leaks like that ever again.
It was weird.
It just 1, 2, 5 million, and it was just like, each thing better than the last, and it was amazing.
I honestly, I can't help but wonder, because I think I've said it before, but like I think they're running out of stuff to surprise people with.
It's gonna get really offbeat and weird because I mean we have like a Rogue Trader board game coming out.
Yeah,
we have a Plastic Sister.
Fucking Sisters of Battle.
Squats. We have Squats and Necromunda. We have they announced
we have Necromunda.
Yeah, we have Necromunda, and then the huge announcement. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's just gonna be General's Handbook 2018." They're like, "Fuck no! This is Age of Sigmar Edition 2."
Yeah, second edition.
And that's what I think we're going to talk about today.
We're just kind of shine a light on.
Just like fucking cool.
I'm excited. I'm really jazzed. Admittedly, I haven't played nearly as much Age of Sigmar as I would like to, just because I have a Stormcast army, but I always felt like shit playing the Stormcast because I'd just kind of stomp on people. So then I built my Iron Jaws. And then I had an Iron Jaws commission that I had to do, and then I didn't want to paint Iron Jaws anymore, so then I was like, well, and I just kind of didn't Age of Sigmar after that.
I had Sylvaneth, and my games just always went exactly the same.
Yeah.
Not to say that they aren't fun, I like the Sylvaneth, but there's really only one way you're playing them.
Just about.
I feel like I really haven't found myself in Age of Sigmar. I've got my my Fire Slayers, but I play them like I play like a 40k army. I have a bunch of infantry. I don't have any I have the Magmadroth, but it's not on the same scale as in Age of Sigmar. You think like you have one big centerpiece model that you have a bunch of stuff kind of floating around. I don't have an army that really plays that way.
I'd argue to say that Fire Slayers are complete shit.
Okay, it makes me feel good.
And that it is not your fault in the least bit because that army is complete shit.
I mean, dwarves in general, I just don't see a lot of
I wouldn't say dwarves in general. I wouldn't.
Caradrons are fucking good right now.
Yeah?
They're averaging top 5 in a lot of tournaments. That's because there's a Zilfin, 1-drop bomb. Where it's just it's an Ironclad with 3 units of the Arcanauts. And they all have skyhooks, so those are the D3 damage ones that are crazy.
I've seen a lot of lists that are all skyhook lists, and they're doing fucking great.
You only want skyhooks, and then you load it up with 20 Endrin Riggers and 2 Chemists, and it's like, fly, my monkeys! And then you drop them down and they kill everything. But it's kind of you're all in.
Yeah.
if you do.
Well,
that.
it's all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
But for, I don't want to say an elite army, but for a specialist army like that, you
I'd
kind of
say
have
so.
to play it that way.
The thing is, if they drop turn 1 and they don't do anything, then you're
fucked.
You're done. Check out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you were thinking about Daughters of Cain for a little while, weren't you?
I mean, I am, and the thing is, the thing that I keep coming back to is I'm when I think about what made me excited about Dark Elves in Fantasy Battle. It was cool to have the Witch Elves there, and the Cauldron of Blood is awesome, and all of the crazy stabby ladies. But that was never the backbone of what I like to play. I like to play like my super dour, Nazi elves. That's what was cool. The super evil shade of elf that you can throw out there.
Armor and spears for days.
Yeah,
Sounds like you're gonna have to wait for the new elves.
And yeah, and that, I think that's realistically that's more than likely going to be what it will be that gets me to get into it. Now, for the time being, I have demons that I do want to experiment with, and
demons are great in
there was a spoiler that looks vaguely Slaneshi.
Oh yeah, the new Crab Claw.
Yeah, there's not many models in 40k that have crab claws, and since Ideneth is all done, it's not that. So
if they were to make a Slaneshi host that has the same love and care that the Nurgle demons do, that is something I could very easily see
the
myself
Nurgle
getting
demons
into.
came out really well. The Nurgle demons came out very well.
Megakin routinely, they top 5 too. That's a strong list.
And the characters are fun, man.
Yeah.
Sloppity Bilepiper.
The Sloppity Bilepiper.
The best fucking name that they've come out with in like a decade.
I really like Rotigus too. Just a wizard, great unclean one.
Yeah. The what's his name? The horticulturist, the dude on the snail's back.
Horticulus Slimix.
Horticulus, yeah. I love his character. Like the way they describe him is just like this crotchety old man. Where every now and again Nurgle's like, you have to go out there and grow more stuff, and like he'll do it. And it's like, this isn't as good as the shit in the garden. this is all right. But this plague not as good as my plague.
Didn't his model win Golden Demon this year?
Yeah, they. I think it was,
or at least special mention.
They took him and then they expanded on the tree that's growing on the back of the snail dude.
Yeah, it has like extra nurglings.
There's
and stuff
a nurgling
on it.
that is erupting diarrhea out of its ass.
Yeah,
beautiful.
It's great.
That's when you know you're in an adult hobby. Yeah. That exact level of, like, I mean, and it's hard because Nurgle has, they can be funny with Nurgle.
Yeah.
They can't be, it's like, oh God, what do we have to try and do with Slanesh? We have to try and be tastefully sexy. Oh,
it's like
Jesus.
dildoing their own ass. It's just like, it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, like,
I was trying to convince Jaren, when he does his Great Unclean one, to do a little hot tub, like a toxic hot tub with Nurglings sitting in it, just chilling out. Maybe have one farting in the water.
God damn it.
But,
you can do that with Nurglings.
Yeah.
Slanesh is...
It's because, I mean, Corn's easy. Zinch is, you just have to be weird.
Put a bird on it.
Yeah.
It's easy. Just give it fucking feathers or fire, and it's Zinch. Like,
But
you're fine.
They don't know how sexy they want to be with Slanesh. They don't know how crab claw-y they want to be, and it's like those are the two sliders that they have for it. Like, and I think it's kind of, you don't really see, what was the character from Fantasy Battle, the Chaos Champion that was so enamored with himself?
Oh, the beautiful one.
Sigvold the Magnificent.
Sigvold.
The beautiful
cool.
one.
That is amazing. That is like, it's sure it's kind of funny, but it really captures the character of like devotees of Slanesh. You don't see that reflected in the demonettes. You don't see that at all.
You just see titty monsters with crab claws.
I think with Age of Sigmar, it's going to be much like harder that direction. Just really grotesque, demonic kind of things, less like beautiful things.
And I can kind of see that where it's like, okay, if you're big into Slanesh, these are the things you find sexy now. Like that I can kind of see it from that
She's
angle.
got 14 titties and an anteater mouth.
Not enough.
Not enough titties?
Not enough.
At least it was an even number.
I want a 40-foot long caterpillar demon prince with titties for legs, and the nipples on the titties are dicks.
Bring forth the protein cannon.
God. I'd love to see Slaanesh get some love, because we've seen Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Khorne get love.
I think they're kind of on the precipice. They need to decide, like, are we going to commit to having this in our Pantheon, or are we going to kick it out like we meant to?
If they don't update the models, I wouldn't be surprised if Slaanesh was just entirely legacied out.
I mean, like, fucking the Great Horned Rat shows up, and he's like, yes, I've attained the level of Chaos God! And, like, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Slaanesh is gonna have a big old bowel movement and be like, I'm done devouring all those souls. And then come out of her prison and be like, let's fuck shit up. And the Great Horned Rat's gonna be like, oh no, I thought I had more time.
Oh. That makes sense, though.
What?
Because the whole lore behind the Ideneth is that they're taking the souls out of Slaanesh.
Oh, yeah.
They're taking the souls. So Slaanesh is getting skinnier.
Yeah.
Slaanesh is losing weight.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's entirely possible, because the whole reason they have all these Ideneth now is just because they've been slowly pulling the souls out of Slaanesh to actually do shit.
Yeah.
So it's not entirely impossible to think Slaanesh is going to have a comeback.
But if I was a betting man, that the new spoiler, the Crab Claw, I'd say Slaanesh.
Okay.
My first thought was like some kind of new Tyrannid, but
Like a Lictor.
Tyrannid's just had a book. And granted, you know, they've been doing rules in boxes and everything, but it just doesn't have, like, the segmented carapace or anything kind of going on. It's not...
It doesn't look anything like the Carnifex that have the claws, because they're the really only thing with a claw for the most part.
Kind of. I mean, there's options, but yeah. And I think it's Slaanesh. I think it's going to be new Clawed Fiends or something.
I would be surprised if it wasn't Slaanesh, just because of the look of it.
So,
we could do with the new Keeper of Secrets.
I think so.
We could do with a lot of things.
Really a lot of that line. Except for the Seekers.
Oh, Seekers.
Yeah.
The Seekers and stuff like that are pretty okay. The Daemonettes are...
They're passable, but they need to be updated.
I miss the old ones. Not because they had 12 titties, but just because they had that nice style to them.
Are Harpies Slaanesh?
Harpies are...
they're just
chaos.
They're just chaos,
Beast of
right?
chaos.
No, you're thinking of Furies.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Harpies are a Dark Elf model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Furies are like the gargoyle-esque things. It's for people that believe in chaos, but they make the mistake of not doing Chaos Undivided properly, and they never commit to one of the gods enough or properly to attain some level of demonhood, so they become cursed and warped by the chaos energy, and it's why you used to be able to take Furies that were unmarked. But now they're really, really adamantly against Chaos Undivided. Like, there's nothing that can go... I think, what's his face? Be'lakor. He's really the only one that's unmarked these days.
We've seen Ideneth. Yeah. We've seen new Stormcast.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool.
With fucking crossbow maces.
The trailer was great.
The trailer was fucking on the nose, and I loved it.
Well, they don't have to try to be serious and grimdark, and I feel like that makes advertising easier. That makes writing easier. Like,
dare I say a little mimetic?
A little, but I enjoy the fact that you have these two separate games. You have 40K, which is your grimdark demons, shit's going on.
Let's forge a narrative about humanity.
But then you have Age of Sigmar, and you got fucking like Flesh Eater Court thinking they're knights. You got fucking sea elves coming out of the bottom of the ocean, and they raid your village, and then you forget they were ever there. Like fucking David's house is in the corner, and David's been there his whole life. But then the sea elves fucking come and take him in the night, and you wake up the next morning, you're like, yeah, the house has been empty all along. You don't even know David. So it's just shit like that. Like, that's fucking cool. But like, the lore, they can kind of take those liberties they can't with 40K.
So, second edition Age of Sigmar, fucking Sigmar decides, you know what, I'm going to open up an entire chamber of wizards, and it looks fucking cool.
I'm a little upset about that.
Yeah.
I'm a little upset about that, and it has nothing to do with Sigmar getting new models or anything, but as far as like a game goes, fucking Sigmar's one weakness was not having casting ability, and they even got, what's the one dude with the pole that was allowed to like deny...
Oh, I forget what her name is.
But they had tools in place to deal with casting.
I think it's the Knight Verdant.
And then they had prayers So it's like they kind of had the framework of magic without it really being magic.
It's like dwarven runes.
Yeah, like it was like dwarves didn't get wizards, they had runes. Sigmar had, you know, prayers and banners and things like that to kind of let them do magic-y shit without really doing it. And then they're like, they have wizards now.
I mean,
whatever.
They did leak the one wizard.
They did leak. Yeah.
You saw her, and her unique spell that she gets was kind of like
with her goddamn dispel scroll.
Yeah, hell yeah.
With her goddamn dispel scroll.
Pocket scroll!
That doesn't say you can only use once per army or something like that. So it specifically mentions her as a model.
Oh yeah,
can only use it once. If you bring multiple of them, congratulations, you have an army of dispel scrolls.
But then I have an army of fucking wizards that are just gonna deny your spells and then get swept.
Going against Tzeentch or something like that, where their shooting is only hitting on 6s and 6s.
And there's gonna be 12. You're playing Tzeentch wrong, buddy.
You're right. You're supposed to use.
Psychic.
I'm saying if you're concerned about that, then you're.
If as a Tzeentch player, I am concerned with an opponent having the ability to deny the witch without having to roll for it.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, you're fucking right.
You're gonna wheel your Skyfires around and then be like,
no, because that's Tzeentch Arcanites. We're talking Tzeentch. We're talking Pink Horrors and Casters. If you have an entire what are the top tier lists for Tzeentch? They're always just a fuck ton of smites and arcane bolts across the board.
Yeah, and then the fucking the Tzeentch. Oh my god, I can't even remember the name of the formation.
Tzeentch's Firestorm or whatever, that's like the...
No, not the spell. The formation for all the disc guys.
Oh, the Enlightened...
That is included in every single one of them.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is magic. I'm not talking about dudes with bows and arrows.
I know, but
You're also Sigmar that has some of the best armor and saves in the game.
That's debatable.
And you have an entire army of now... You not only in the release did you get magicians, but you also got artillery and more crossbows.
What Micah is saying is...
You're right. Range is... Sigmar sucks at the range fight.
I'm not saying that.
They have the capacity to hard counter about every single army that's out there.
Yes.
If you have access to the models, you can build a setup that is strong enough to completely shut out most everybody out there.
There isn't a single army that Sigmar does not have the tools to deal with effectively and debatably cost efficiently. We haven't seen these new models.
Which, like, that to be fair, like, I recognize, like, yeah, if you're spending, 3 or 4, characters worth of points on these people specifically to counter, it's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna be making some sort of compromise for how your army does run, but the fact that you can do it.
Yeah, it's just I don't like
gonna do that.
If you think of every,
I assure you, Eric,
nobody dumps that many points on the same character over and over. People might take one or two.
I'm not saying the same character, but what I'm saying is, if you think of every army like a toolbox, and everybody has a couple tools missing, but one guy has every single tool.
Oh, no, of course. Stormcast has everything.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they have an option for everything.
I'm saying that if you have an army that has an option for everything, there is not a single situation they cannot handle well, then it makes it kind of boring, because it's just like, if you go to a tournament...
I can see what they're trying to do. It's like we're trying to make these the Space Marines where they can do.
Yeah, that's all they are.
Space Marines can do everything, but they're lackluster still at a few things. It's like there's not like a super.
Their casters aren't as good as Eldar. Their shooting is debatably not as good as Tau. Their armor isn't technically as good as some Nurgle save after the save toughness 5 guys. They have their weaknesses, but they're like the Mario of the game. They're just a well-balance. Where when you have Sigmar that can do everything well, then you have an army that's kind of...
And I'm willing to for there to be room to okay, there new edition coming out.
Right.
One thing that I want to see is how they administer buffs and debuffs accordingly to kind of because if they've proven they can have an army that's a good all-rounder, and it's like, okay, cool, but other armies need to wreck face hard enough, and the one thing that makes them special to justify the fucking Sigmarines being what they are, and I'm totally prepared to see that happen. Like that's one thing that excites me about a second edition for Age of Sigmar is I want to see how they elaborate on the rules set. I want to see how, because it's blatantly obvious that when the first game came out, they made the rules set with the intent to sell models. If you weren't running one of the current,
you're not running something new. Fuck off.
And it's like, okay. That's it. It is evident, and what the old CEO was around when Age of Sigmar came out, right?
That was Kirby, I think.
Yeah, that was the big push, though.
So they had bad intentions when they made Age of Sigmar.
I don't think he was. No, he might have been.
Because I distinctly remember him saying, "You don't need rules for this game, and people will play it." And that was kind of
because that was the whole point of when they released it without points and stuff like that. They're like, "You don't need points; just play with what you got."
That was the consensus.
He left at the 7th edition Tyranid book, and I can't remember if that was before or after Age of Sigmar.
That was after.
The thing
that was after because I had just started playing fantasy.
Regardless, I feel that Age of Sigmar, while it was a breath of fresh air, part of it was made with the wrong intentions, and I am confident that they aren't going to do that now, and I want to see how they kind of redeem themselves in that regard.
There are a couple things that people are kind of saying about it too that kind of interest me. Like one of them was just a little blurb, and that was saying that they were going to make the 2-turn swing more strategic, which is just like
the thing that turned so many people away from the game.
There is not a single thing on this earth that upsets me more than suffering the brunt of the 2-turn swing.
Because you either have because like how it is to me is like you either have an army that doesn't need the 2-turn swing, and if you have an army that doesn't need the 2-turn swing, and you get it, you're going to fuck your opponent into the dirt. If you have an army that needs the 2-turn swing, you need it, and you don't get it, you're going to get your dick kicked in. So it's this weird, like, if you're playing an army that can't function without it, and you don't get it, you're hosed.
Well, that's my Iron Jaws.
That's the Flesh Eater Court. Yeah. You get halfway up the board, and then you're fucking shot to death twice.
The thing that I take issue with, it's like, if you want to have more random elements in a game, fine. Have more random damage. Have more random attacks. Don't have a random element that's going to have me sitting on my ass for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I so can't. I can tell.
And your strategy's a gamble. Like, that's what it is. Your strategy's a gamble. I'm going to advance everything in my army and fucking pray I get the 2 turns. And it's just like that. Your entire, like, it happens all the time where your game comes down to a single dice roll, but not like in Age of Sigmar with the 2-turn swing.
Because it's a single dice roll that dictates, like, hundreds.
It dictates the entire game. That turn 1 to turn 2 roll, that pretty much sets the tone for the rest of the game. And it's unfortunate to have a system that's like that.
Because I think that was the first thing that made me think, like, maybe they don't know what they're doing. Like, watering down the rules, like, it might not be what you like, but you can see that there's a thought process behind it where it's like, we want to make this easy to pick up. But then you have someone come in and it's like, what if we make it so you can roll your turns at random? And it's like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Sure. I don't think they're going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to do something to...
Give me stratagems that I can barter, or like command points that I can barter.
You can try to up your dice roll. You can try to force a re-roll.
I've seen
you can get
a bidding system.
You can get like a thing that lets you have advantage on the roll.
There was
some things.
I'd like to see a bidding system where like you have points that you can use, and it's like if you really need that turn, it's like fine, spend all of your cool kid points on the advantage to this.
But see, the thing is, like I can't think of a solution for it that doesn't involve completely changing the game. There isn't just like, you just one person gets a reroll. Because it's like, you can still get the problem with it is that a 2-turn swing immediately puts the army on the back foot. And I don't like the army being put on the back foot because you want to roll off. I want it to be because I position better. I want it to be because I saw an opening and I'm trying to take advantage of it. I want it to be like a strategy on my end, not just like, oh, hot dog, I rolled 6, fuck you, I'm going twice.
Right. But I mean, that kind of comes up with the whole pick up and play. You don't really have to be good at the game in order to win, which is nice, but admittedly...
No, I get it. Yeah, I totally... I get... When Age of Sigmar came out, they're like, we're going to make an easier system. Yeah. And Age of Sigmar is unbelievably easier than Fantasy. It just is. But the game being easier doesn't also need that. Yeah. You can have exactly Age of Sigmar and not have that rule, and it'd still be a fine game.
It rewards bad decisions.
And like I've looked online and stuff like that, and there's a lot of hobby groups that just say, no, we don't do that rule.
And you know what?
And you just go in order. And that's fair. That's fine. And the thing is, do it that way.
If they don't come up with a system that's implemented to it, something where there's like points or advantages or things that alter the role, then I foresee that being the way that I go. Where it's like, you know what? We can just we can house rule it. We don't play that way. If it's something where it's more, there's more depth to it than a dice roll.
Then, whoops! I went.
Yeah. If there's more depth to it than just a single dice roll, then and I don't have that option to ignore it, then fine.
Or something.
I want it to be thought out though. I want it to be more than just roll the fucking die.
It's just unfortunate. Like me, I don't know how to fix it, but it's unfortunate that there's a single rule that can turn people away from a game system.
Randomized turn rolls killed my inner child.
So that's on the chopping block. There are a couple other things, actually, too, that I've kind of picked up, and I just remembered, that could be indicators for the future of the game, which is kind of makes me excited. The Ideneth, one of their things that they can do, I think it's on their tide chart. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are saying this was like a beta test that they kind of slipped in under the radar. But on one of them, when they charge, they get to attack first, rather than the alternating. So people are thinking that they're going to see how that plays out.
Yeah, high tide or whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's high tide. Yeah, they get the rule that lets them fight first, kind of like how Khorne. I think Khorne has certain rules, or is it Slanesh that lets them fight first? Like that's their thing, and they kind of put that in there where it's like, hey, your whole army gets this rule, but it's only one turn.
Yeah, so I think that might be a little thing that they're going to kind of play with.
Harkens back to where 40K in Fantasy would always borrow from each other.
So I think we're going to see a lot of stuff kind of borrow between the systems, but I think that would be a really good addition as a rule.
I think that'd be good.
In general. That's good bookkeeping. You charge, you get to attack first, and then you have combats going, switch off.
Because I've had games specifically, I'm remembering when I played your Iron Jaws with my Zinj, and there were times that I chose not to charge even though I knew I could make the charge because I needed my Zangors to fight first.
Yeah.
I needed them to fight first, and I couldn't risk putting anything else in combat because I knew you would kill it. Like, I knew you would fuck whatever unit was going second. So it would be cool to see something like that happen in Age of Sigmar because it works fairly well in 40K.
Yeah, and I think that in conjunction with maybe like a command point system, which honestly wouldn't surprise me for a second.
A command point system would be great.
Sure, you make a deck of cards, you set it out. They don't need an amendment to your book.
Nope, you got these cards.
Kind of slip in.
I've never once when you think about all of the things that could potentially go wrong with things like stratagems or command points, I've never once felt like it's been abused or like, and anytime it has, they've been like,
they're on it. They're on it with the FAQs and stuff like that. If something's being abused beyond belief, they've pretty much sent a fix for everything.
We'll see how Dark Eldar end up doing soon. I expect that one Vex whatever where he's just like, you lose your command. You don't get to do that. So there's a lot of speculation that that's going to be the way the new Dark Eldar are going to come out on top, which I'm kind of excited to see.
It'd be cool.
think it'll be neat. There was one other big change too that I heard that is a possibility. I heard this on the Rolling Bad podcast. They kind of talked about that. If you haven't listened to them, you guys totally should. They're a great podcast out of New Mexico. Great guys talking about Age of Sigmar. Shout out to Rolling Bad podcast.
They're not going to be your friends.
Please be my friend.
Well, they're not going to be your friend. They'll like me and Micah.
Please.
I mean, we actually have good opinions.
Well, I mean, you guys sit here and shit talk.
Yeah, that's all people want.
Okay.
You got to catch on.
but they were thinking, or they heard from somewhere that they're going to remove shooting out of combat.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Which would be like, fuck yes, that's ridiculous that I can be punching you in the face and then turn around and then shoot at Archeon over on the other side of the board real quick and then go back to fighting you.
That's fine.
That's, yeah.
I'm okay with them taking that out. That makes sense.
I think certain units like the Caradron Arcanauts, how they have their little pistols and axes, I think those ones would be able to use their pistols in combat.
Or like if somebody has like an acid spit or something. I can't think of a number, but like
I think stuff like that would still be able to use it.
Maybe like some of the elf models because they're so nimble.
I've never won wars from shooting my pistols in close combat. It's always just been like a nice little like, oh hey, yeah, I get to do this.
But I think that would be something else that would be borrowed from 8th edition and brought over into.
That'd be cool. I'm fine with
Age
that.
of Sigmar.
I'm fine with that. It was always kind of silly. Or at the very least, if you can shoot into a combat, you run the risk of hitting your own guys.
Yeah, they talked about that too, which was kind of an interesting idea. Like on a roll of a 1, maybe you do a
I like that idea. I mean, if you're going to shoot a fucking 100 arrows at Archeon and he's got a bunch of dudes sitting around him in combat, you're probably going to hit one or two
anything
guys.
that generates like that
self-wounding.
Well, and anything where it's like you that there's that potential for like, hey, fucking Dylan, you remember that time that you killed your own fucking hero when you shot him to death? Like, I love little stuff like that.
I think that's a fine idea.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the magic.
Oh yeah, the new cinematic spells.
We saw the little cinematic spell thingies leak, which is super cool because they specifically mentioned Purple Sun as being a reference for how they might end up working. And if you remember Fantasy, Purple Sun was a spell that you can use, and when it hit the table, you got a small blast marker and it moved around.
So cinematic magic might come back, which makes me also think that maybe the lores are waking up. And
they did look clearly different. You clearly had
there was
death,
a lore,
beast, fire. You had some very clear differences,
which I think is exciting. I realize people hated 8th edition fantasy for how necessary wizards were and everything, and how powerful they were. But
I mean, you got Dispel Scrolls now, so it doesn't fucking matter.
There you go.
Yep.
No, but it's so. I thought it was just fun and interesting.
Well,
how
it's
it would happen.
fantasy battle, man. And when you have fucking wizards,
you have wizards and knights, and when you have an entire game of only knights, where the fuck are your wizards?
Exactly, and I don't want to just sit there and just like, okay, they cast
fucking
Arcane
play
Shield,
Hail Caesar.
okay, they cast Magic Missile or whatever, and it's like this gets so boring. It's like, why even bother? I don't even bother with my shaman half the time.
Incidentally, if you want to play Hail Caesar with me, just hit me up in the DMs.
No.
Please?
No.
The dims?
We have too many models.
Slide into the dims?
It's weird because I have for the longest time in 40k traditionally played armies that have no access to Psychic. And in Age of Sigmar, I've played armies almost exclusively that need Psychic. So it's been a very weird transition between needing and not needing that phase.
You have to kind of switch gears.
But
that's when I picked up Eldar.
It's cool. I like it. I like the idea of your wizard casting like this big fuck you spell that's kind of like roaming around the board.
Yeah.
I hope it stays random, like Purple Sun and things like that. Where maybe depending on how good your wizard is, maybe they can control it a little bit. I want to see
the Scattered Eye come back. Oh my god,
so fun.
It would be cool. See, like the Scattered Eye for me is like I like the idea of the Scattered Eye coming back specifically for Magic. I don't want to see Blast templates come back because Blast templates were a big source of argument. But a Scattered Eye is fine. Scattered Eye, you put your measuring tape, go in that direction, you put it over your model, you scoot it that distance.
Well,
that's not that bad.
Well, I think part of a big focus in the recent FAQ with 40K is them trying to make Deep Strike like work without being busted. And all I can think of is like, yeah, they're on the right track, but man, I bet you wish that Scattered Eye was still here. Like,
yeah, just a little bit.
There's so much where it's like if you just implemented a random element, like I don't know, maybe a die roll, maybe this wouldn't be so fucking bananas.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to see the Scattered Eye come back, but you're right. A bit of randomness would be nice. I think you can do it.
I miss high risk, high reward. and there's not enough of that.
You have enough with the artillery die with like this model does like D6 shots or stuff like that. I mean that's basically the artillery die, not like hitting and bouncing and moving and fuck that was dumb.
That's the artillery die.
That was dumb.
That was awesome.
That was dumb. You killed my fucking Carnosaur turn
Hashtag
one. Fuck that.
Micah doesn't understand fun.
Hashtag I played an army that didn't have artillery. Fuck you. It was really annoying.
I think cinematic spells are awesome. I think,
and they looked cool.
Yeah,
like
it helps that they're nice models.
Rules aside, they looked fucking cool.
I hope magic gets used more, or at least it's more interesting because
This does mortal wounds. This does mortal wounds. This gives you reroll ones. This does mortal wounds. This is reroll.
Like you look at your basic rulebook spells, and it's so like, that's it. Okay. And it's so boring. I want fun stuff. Granted, you're kind of getting there with like prayers and stuff like that, but I want more unique spells.
Yeah, unique would be nice, or at the very least, just like it made it so each army's spells just felt a little different. Yeah. Because like Ideneth have ones that cause mortal wounds, Tzeentch has one that cause mortal wounds, which granted you need that in a game where mortal wounds spill over, blah blah blah.
When I don't see flamer templates or things like that anymore, it's hard for me to envision like what's going on.
Yeah,
that element of immersion's kind of lost.
Yeah, or just like start having like the Ideneth didn't have a spell to make the turn be one higher or lower on their tide chart.
Yeah.
And I thought that would have been super cool. It would have been super flavorful. It would have been unique to them. They didn't have it. They have mortal wounds. They have buffs. That's all there is. And that's unfortunate. And then they're like, oh, well, characters have their own unique spells. But 99% of the time, it's a buff or a mortal wound. And it's just, it would be nice to see something else. Like, I think the Slan has a really cool one where he gives everybody fly with, like, a command ability or a spell. I can't remember. But that's cool. They're all celestial now. They're flying. They're coming through the buildings at you. Like, that's flavorful and unique to what they are. But I don't know. It would be nice seeing something with a little bit more flavor.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. So that's pretty much all I've been able to gather as far as ideas for what the new second edition is going to be. That's about all I got. Do you guys have any hopes for the new edition? Specifically, like any sort of things?
I wanted strength and toughness, but from what we've seen as far as like war scrolls for certain things come out, that hasn't been on them. Not to say that it can't happen, but I would have liked to see strength and toughness come back.
It's just not Age of Sigmar.
It's not. It's not, but like, it's the one thing that's just like, yeah, a peasant's gonna have a hard time fucking wounding that Stardrake.
I think I've already voiced what I want. I want to see a rule set where the main intent isn't to try and drive sales for specific models and to discourage sales for other ones. I want to see... It doesn't... I mean, I'm not even asking for it to be balanced. I just want it to be that fair, unbalanced, kind of, fantasy battle 40K kind of thing that we all know. It's none of these armies are on the same even footing, but I have the potential to defeat a brand new sculpt with my fucking Tomb Kings. I don't know.
Yeah, I would like to see them not entirely turn their back on at least the old models. I get that they aren't updated and whatnot, but just at least give them rules that can fucking compete.
Yeah, I mean, Warhammer...
Like, at the very least, just make it so they can compete. When you take an army and you just say, look, you can play with these models, but only in open play, and they're gonna suck.
Like, Warhammer Legends is such a fucking tease.
That's such a cock tease.
It's like, here's the old book, but you can only play it in open play. We're not giving you points or anything, and that's it. And it's like, either do it entirely or just don't even bother.
Well, they know other people are going to write it.
It's like,
other people are going to create the...
But I mean, no official tournament's going to allow that or anything.
It's like trying to resuscitate a corpse by giving it a breath every minute. Yeah, it's just they're trying to keep it alive, and it's like either shut the door or let them in with a decent rule set. Stop fucking like...
They're salty about all those people that wrote in Bring Fantasy back at the survey that they did.
Or that like...
it's like, you want us to bring it back? Here it is, you assholes.
That lit their armies on fire.
No, they're not salty about that.
We're gonna call this one.
I didn't even say what I wanted to say.
Oh, sorry. Say what you
God,
wanted to
fuck
say.
you guys.
No, say what you want to say.
I don't even know if you guys want to hear.
No, say what you want to say.
Do you really?
It's not so much that I want to hear it. I just don't want you to complain about not saying it.
Just say what you want to say. Please, fuck.
So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the new cinematic spells. I think that's going to be really fun. I hope they do a little bit more lore intense stuff. I want to see that. I don't care if it starts skewing everything all crazy and we get crazy powerful wizards again. I think it'll be fun either way. I want more new armies. I want the Sky Goblins to actually be real. I'm really excited for the new Night Haunt. I think it's really... I made the comparison of Greyhawk to Eberron a while ago. And I think that's the harder we go into Eberron, the more fun it really kind of is as a setting.
And those Night Haunt models are cool.
Yeah, they look great.
Like the dude with the fucking like noose on his back,
Yeah.
and that's neat.
I want GW to stop teasing us with Warhammer Legends. I want them to just go into the setting and just completely make it their own. Just don't hang on to any of the generic fantasy that everyone kind of does. And just be you, GW. I think you're doing great. You liked my comment on Instagram. I thought that was really nice.
Oh my god.
And so that's kind of our thoughts, our hopes, our dreams for Age of Sigmar 2nd Edition. We hope you enjoyed listening to this. If you did, give us a like, leave a comment, maybe subscribe. Maybe scream at the dog for having little yaps in his sleep.
He has a little nightmare bark. The one offense he has committed.
The one offense.
He's been really good.
Yeah, he actually has been pretty good.
That's because I drugged him.
Did you really?
I anticipated that you guys would be here tonight, and so I put drugs in his cheese.
Oh my god.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And with that, like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it. Let us know if you hated it even. I don't care.
Hit us up. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me why Stormcasts are the best army and they deserve everything.
Tell us why they're the
hear
best army, but not because they're overpowered, but because people who play them are the best and the sexiest.
Yeah.
Okay. We love you. You guys have a great night, okay? I'm Eric.
I'm Micah.
I'm right behind you.